Okay, oh, can we get, is this one on? Yeah, there it is. Okay, we are going to kick off with our next bit of programming. Do you think I should do the hand thing? Let's do the hand thing. Yeah, but we're not going to wait for people. Yeah, but we'll just get the people's attention. Hey, it's a hand up time. Yeah, it's time to wrap your conversations or take them into the classic Cascadian weather. Yeah. So if you're in this room, if you're staying with us here in the Ash Room, I'm going to assume you're interested in listening to what's happening on stage, and if you could wrap up your conversations, I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping. So in terms of the schedule, the most updated schedule is on the website. By around lunchtime, the Who the app will also be updated. Now you may have noticed there's some cool swag in the registration area. We have copies of the BioFi book and we have other things. Those are all there from Regenerate Cascadia for donation only. And how you do that is through a QR code. And no, cut that.
The QR code is from the Steam plan.
The QR code, how do they donate for the swag?
They just have to go and donate on the website.
Okay. So to donate for any Regenerate Cascadia swag, you have to go to the website and donate. So, or PayPal or Venmo. The QR code is for donating to the Georgetown Steam Plant. A note on feeding. We have a food truck here from 11 till 2. If you wait for the lunch 45 minutes, you might be in line for a long time. So we want you to bring a grazing approach to how you nourish yourself. We've got snacks that are out all day. We have the food truck from 11 till 2. We also have at least 5 restaurants within less than a mile. If you find a group and you're having a great chat, feel free to take off, go for a walk, and take that into a restaurant and come back. Everything is being live streamed and everything is being recorded onto the Regenerate Cascadia YouTube channel, so you can catch up on any presentations if you choose a relational experience over a programming experience. We want you to feel free to do that and not have FOMO. And so I'm now going to ask people, we've got Regenerate Cascadia folks coming up to talk about the work that they're doing, and Michelle Lee coming up to talk about BioFi. So if you'd like to participate in this session, it's time to head on down, take a seat, and wrap up your conversations. Or take them out, upstairs to the boiler room, or into the engine room, or anywhere else. Hey, Susan. Hey, Susan. So any of our volunteers or people working on the team, if you could start to remind people to take their seats and come towards the front, because it's nicer then. Yes, I need John. But if you could come up there and start out in. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Give a big Yahoo if you can hear me. Okay, so most of you are listening, so come on down the front or wherever you're cozy and then wrap up your conversations. Or take them out into the engine room. All right, so do you want us on?
Well, welcome everybody. And thank you so much for everybody to join us for a very unique weekend experience. We know that this is not a traditional venue, and we might have chosen it for that reason. And I think one of the big reasons that we decided to choose the Georgetown steam plant is because when we talk about regeneration, that conversation has to start here. And I think a lot of people, when they talk about regeneration, might get a picture of a rural, a farm, a back to the land movement. But we find that every different conversation or topic that we're going to talk about has intersection points here in the Duwamish River Valley and here at the Georgetown steam plant. When we talk about bioregional finance, what we're talking about is healing. When we talk about regeneration, we're talking about healing our relationships with each other, our connections and relationships with land, and our relationships to heal the trauma, and especially as it involves money, and how we can actually find support for people doing the work as guided by them to see them resourced, supported, visualized, and connected into a much broader picture. So here in the Duwamish River Valley in the Georgetown steam plant, when this plant was built, there was a Duwamish River across the way, and the river was not straightened yet. More than that, this is the home of the Duwamish people and the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people who have been here since time immemorial. More than that, this river was straightened, and so the wetlands filled in with artificial till from tearing down the Denny regrade and building the Capitol, kind of when they regraded Capitol Hill. So it's all artificial till. It was a manufacturing site for Boeing in the 1940s, which turned it into a Superfund site. So the soil is toxic. It's the home of more than 80% of heavy industry in King County, in Seattle, in the Duwamish River Valley. So everybody living here is a frontline community. The average health expectancy for someone who lives in Georgetown or South Park is 8 years lower than the rest of Seattle. So these are very real conversations. And more than that, by being a Superfund site, it's also the home of the Port of Seattle. And so when they talk about cleaning it up, if we're not involved in that conversation, if we don't talk about dredging, their answer and solution is to dredge the port, make it deeper so that they can bring in bigger ships from China. And yet, each one of these issues is the reason why change is possible, and in ways here that we think is important that isn't actually possible in other ways. We have an outsized impact because all of those things intersecting here between tribal, city, county, state, federal, as well as the nonprofit organizations, the community groups, the people living here, gives us an opportunity to talk about regeneration in different ways and truly weave together a landscape movement for how we can talk about this and create solutions. So all of these reasons are why we chose the Georgetown steam plant, and we've been so happy with the partnership that Debbie and Khalil and their whole team and Sam have provided. So thank you everybody for joining us. And I wanted to just start off today with a quote. A growing number of people are recognizing that to secure the clean air, water, and food we need to survive healthfully, we have to become guardians of the places where we live. People sense the loss in not knowing our neighbors and natural surroundings and are discovering that the best way to take care of ourselves is to go out and take action for ourselves. When we define our places using the earth as the frame of reference, taking into account flora, fauna, landforms, climate, and so on, we are talking in terms of bioregions. Can we move from our status as an internal colony of the American and Canadian industrial system used for resource extraction, technology services, and holiday vacationing to a more self-reliant and self-determining bioregional community? Can we gain greater control over common destiny? Can we? Perhaps. But it all depends. It depends on what we do and how we do it. The challenge of change is great. Without a clearly articulated collective vision for what we want to do and coordinated strategies for how to move forward, our ability to effect deep and widespread change is stymied. Is there a way to create greater connective tissue between various parts of our movements for change so that we can strengthen and nourish one another? Can we inject a clear and comprehensive agenda for change into the stale debate that passes for politics these days? These are the questions and challenges that we must face, and it is in the hope that we have gathered over the past month and here tonight, not as an answer to this debate, but hopefully to open up a conversation. It is up to Cascadians, each in their own way, to create and promote these changes and lead the way forward rather than to wait for someone else to do it for us. Those words were spoken at the first Cascadia Bioregional Congress in 1986. And those words were written by Lansing Scott, who's joining us here with a bioregional elders panel, who's going to be gathering here tonight as part of our later Cascadia Day celebrations, which we happen to celebrate every May 18th. And so we're having a potluck that's starting at 5, and we're going to have some really cool presentations, storytelling, and music in the engine room starting at about 5:45 or 6. We have Paul Chiokin-Wagner, a storyteller who's going to open us up. We have Joel with the crowdsourced choir who's going to play piano and do call and response music in the engine room. It's a very cool experience and highly recommended. And then we'll go into that elders panel, and then we have Paul Nelson with the Cascadia Poetics Lab, who's put together a beautiful reading of Cascadia poets, who's going to talk about how we animate this region. So just a big shout out and thank you to everybody who's helping make this whole day and evening such a cool happening. And also, if anybody gets hungry, there is a Thai food truck outside. Oh, yeah, sorry. And at 5 o'clock, we have a potluck starting. And so there's lots of food coming. And hopefully other people are bringing some food, but we've got Ayed Syrian Grill. And so we're going to have at least, some good food. And with that, I just wanted to start by, I think I'm so happy with the opening of the morning and really helping set the context of bioregionalism and bioregionalism as a two-eyed way of seeing. So I just wanted to open this session by setting some context for our place, for our bioregion, and for our home. And so to start with, Cascadia is a bioregion defined through the watersheds of the Snake, Fraser, and Columbia rivers, stretching all the way from South and as far east as Yellowstone. We talk about Cascadia as a bioregion, and bioregions are kind of neat because they're not just arbitrary lines on a map. And in fact, if you look at it from space, they emerge. And they emerge from the landscapes of many different layers. It's not just one layer or one line, but many things coming together that help us define our boundaries of home. So firstly, we talk about the watersheds. And more than just the Columbia, Snake, and Fraser, it's all of the different watersheds through the Salish Sea and that extend through some of the oldest and long-standing temperate rainforests. We start with the oldest lines, the geology, the plate tectonics. It doesn't just stop when the land ends, but rather it stretches all the way to the Cascadia subduction zone. It's about these really hard, jagged lines that have created the mountains and the valleys systems that call this place home. So here we see the geology and amazing mountains which give us identity and shape. This starts with some of the oldest stories of this place, and that's the story of glaciers that 15,000 years ago came in and carved out the fjords and the home that we now call the Salish Sea, lakes that flooded and dammed and flooded and dammed and flooded again. And the indigenous people of this land still have memories, living memories of those events, because they have been living here for more than 1,000 generations, great floods. And those floods, culture and how we live today, that affects how we talk and how we spend money. Culture and how we live today, that affects how we talk and how we spend money and our regional economies and our transportation grids all together. It affects our culture and our sports. And then it's just really important that I think a lot of people I think are really rooted in this arbitrary political lines and divide. And bioregionalism brings us together based on commonalities and shared frameworks of place. It's our language, it is our music, it is our food, and we use these to break down these arbitrary boundaries and borders, and then work together in a whole landscape, whole system, whole watershed lens. This is our energy. We cannot have a conversation about sustainability, regeneration, how we regenerate our landscapes. We cannot have a conversation about food, about drought, about forest fires, if we're not having that conversation with every community impacted along the watershed. And I want to put this in context, because more than ever before, it is important. And I want to put this in context, because more than ever before, it is important that we are having bioregional conversations. Nature acts on the scale of watersheds, ecoregions, bioregions, and so if we want to talk about any of the things that are important to us, we need to as well. So just to put this in context, bioregions are visible from space. And more than that, more than a place, Cascadia is a movement. And Cascadia is an identity that has been growing here for more than 4 decades. And it's about, rather than being American or Canadian, we are citizens of our watersheds. And we are citizens of our place.
Can we cheer this?
Yeah. And this is a grassroots movement that we are all building together. Not one, not two, but together with a shared North Star, shared principles and values, so that we can all be working in our ecological niches, but towards the same goals, and in regenerative principles that are support each other and see people help. If you happen to see this, we get a lot of questions about it, but I just wanted to share. This is our Cascadia duck flag. It is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Designed in 1995 by Alexander Baratek in Portland. It's just green for the forest, white for the mountains, blues for the water, and the Douglas fir because it grows out throughout. So the goal of this is not another flag draped in nationalism or anything, but rather a bioregional symbol, kind of rooted in the values that we want to promote. And so you will see this for helping defend and support frontline communities. Yeah. You will see this helping to inspire and bring people together. This is about bringing together the community, and also, more than a movement and an identity, it becomes a shared vision that we can be working towards all together. And also, if you're unaware, we celebrate Cascadia Culture Week and Cascadia Day every May 18th as a celebration of the articulations and the geologic diversity. So you didn't know it, but you're all joining us for a Cascadia Day celebration right now. Trick. And lastly, and I kind of mentioned this, but I think this is also really important to center, that Cascadia and the Salish Sea are bioregional frameworks which help us to break down these arbitrary nation-state borders. Borders that right now are hardening, and that this cooperation across borders has never been more important before. The Salish Sea, the Coast Salish people have lived here since time immemorial. The Salish Sea has been here since time immemorial, and yet it was created. It was actively created. At the same time of these bioregional congresses, we had a group of people starting in 1986 and 1987 that wanted to help redefine the Salish Sea from the Puget Sound, south of the border, and the Strait of Georgia and all the rest of it, north of the border. And they wanted to break that down and instead help us recognize a shared ecosystem. And so they worked for decades, partnering with indigenous nations, partnering with academics, partnering with communities and organizations. And in 2007, 8, and 9, the Salish Sea was officially recognized by Washington State, by British Columbia, by the geographer associations. And this is an example of a bioregional framework. And that takes us to another point, that bioregions are for more than just humans. So, what about all the other inhabitants of this place? What do they need? What does it mean to be a salmon nation? What's the bioregion of a humpback or a gray whale? What is that? Governments and corporations will not do it for us. That maps have agenda and they have purpose. And oftentimes, that is not necessarily aligned with the things that we find special. So, we need to create our own maps. Because if we can't map the things that we find special to each other, then how do we expect for someone else to do it for us? If we can't define what a regenerative future looks like, our own roadmaps, how do we expect someone else to do it for us? And just lastly, I really wanted to touch on this idea of bioregions as part. The word doesn't matter. Bioregion just means life place. But within that, we have nested scales that we take action. We have watersheds, we have regional ecosystems, we have the different life places of animals and inhabitants, and all of these fit into a series of nested scales going from local landscape to the Salish Sea to the Cascadia bioregion as part of North America, as part of the world. And so all together, we can be activating and working in our own landscape, but as part of this broader collective vision. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on that Cascadia is not doing this alone. Right now, there are hundreds and thousands of people tuning into this idea. People are looking, oh yeah, sorry. Okay, cheer. People are tuning into this idea of bioregionalism all over the world. And they are learning about it for the first time. And they are looking to bioregional movements that have existed for decades. And we are working together, and they are looking and learning, and we are all learning together, and they're learning from us, and we're learning from them. And so everywhere around the world, everyone lives in a bioregion. And together we are building bioregional networks that span North America and span continents and span the planet. Woo! And lastly, and Martin Kirk touched on this, but this is part of a planetary regeneration strategy.
Yeah.
We have 7 of the 10 world's largest carbon storing forests here in Cascadia. Cascadia is a thin green line between resource extraction to the east and global ports and extractive economies in Asia. So what we do here matters. We have 2 of the 3 deep water ports in North America. So what we do here matters. And it doesn't just matter, but we have an outsized impact. More than that, the Great Lakes holds 20% of the world's fresh water. Working with the Ogallala bioregion and the aquifer, that aquifer helps grow food for the heartland of North America, helping to feed more than 1 billion people. Working with the Amazon headwaters, working with the tundra and other things, what you see starting to develop is a strategic vision for interventions to help regenerate not just Cascadia, but the planet. And within that leads us to our latest and most important program that we've launched. So 2 years ago, we started a bioregional activation tour, and I was able to meet my co-administrator, Claire Atwell, and a Seidler, and we helped organize a regeneration tour that traveled to 14 communities in 30 days and met with more than 1,000 people. We worked with almost 100 people to help organize the tour, and we've been working with hundreds of people since then who have been helping catalyze and organize their landscape, helping grow this vision together. And with that, I would like to turn it over to my co-administrator, Claire.
Thank you, Brandon. That was amazing. And it's one of the things, we've got people from the Edge Planet 2 and a bit years ago. Teo was one of the people, Cheryl Chen was there. And when Brandon and I first met, we both had projects we were bringing, and decided we realized that we were holding different parts of a story that we both were able to tell in a way that complemented each other, and that we felt was a really important thing to lift up. And so I'm going to speak to that side. But I just really want to speak to a relationship as well, is that none of us can do any of this work by ourselves. And when we do find people that we can that can help hold different parts of the story, it allows us to hold the pieces that then start to become a basin of attraction for telling the story better. So what Brandon was talking about was showing the land working as a whole body. When we're wanting to heal the body, when we're wanting to look at it as a whole system, you don't just treat one part. And it's a really powerful idea. when people start to understand that the land is working as a whole system and that the land can help to organize the people if we know how to listen to the intelligence of the land. And it allows us to bring polarized perspectives together, because when it's place-based, not somewhere 2,000 miles away where they have no idea what's happening there, but they're actually people living in the land, seeing what's happening. That's really, really powerful, and people can see right away that intractable problems can actually start to be looked at as not blaming other people, but actually, you know, when things start to go wrong, it doesn't help to blame others, it helps to actually just start to figure out how to do the work. And that's what we've forgotten how to do, is we've forgotten how to cooperate, how to work in a really effective way with our governance systems. And so that brings up the part that I'm really passionate, which is so much of what we do in the Western world is in our heads, and we kind of forget that we're attached to our body, intelligence in our bodies, and then we have so much intelligence